Awaken the light. The cosmos is within you. Remember who you are.
Hello, everyone. This is Minister Dr. Akila Ka Ma'at coming live at you today with They Tried to Erase Your Ancestors and They Failed. Yes, indeed, they did fail. They failed. Okay. Thank you so much for being here. Love and lights. Welcome all to the Ak Ascension series. We are in the gate of Ka. We focused on Kat last week, which is the descent into the body. This is all about the recognition. So we went to the body. Today we're going to the ancestral memory as another space of descent, of recognition and reclamation. Okay, I want to put up here, right now, the Ak Ascension Guide, Ka, the Ancestral Life Force Practice Guide, is available through this QR code. It takes you directly to the community page on power-profit.com, and there's no sign up, no nothing. Look in the calendar area. You will see a link to get your free Ancestral Life Force Practice Guide. Okay? All right, there you go. Love and lights, everybody. Additionally, as I just said, this week we focus on the Ka, body of light. And forgive me if you hear a lawnmower going. It seems that folks, every time, this time, maybe it's prime time for mowing time, that they want to jump on. But I want to get started today. We got about a 50-minute live stream. And so wherever you are and however you came in today, you are in the right room. I want to begin by reading you something, not from an ancient text, not from a history book, from a document signed in this country in our lifetime with a pen and seal. It is called, and I want you to hear the title, because the title is the whole confession: Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History. Sanity, they have decided that the honest memory of what was done to your ancestors is a form of insanity with Executive Order 14253, a sickness, something to be cured. And that word sanity, my friends, is not new to us. Hold on to it, because before we get through today, I'm going to show you. I am going to show you, my friends, that they have called our memory a disease before. They were wrong then, and they are wrong now. I'm just looking at the blurry nature of the camera, and I'm not sure why it is so blurry. Give me a second here to see if I can fix this. Give me a second here to go back and see what is happening. I just I'm just checking to see if the video has been fixed because it was looking a little. I'm just sitting tight. Give me a second here. Thank you for coming. I see someone here. Thank you for being here. Just looking. Give me a second. No technical difficulties here. Hi, number 2. Thank you for visiting here. I'm seeing you guys. I'm just checking the video. Give me a second. It looks better. It looks better. Thank you. Thank you for being here. So, where was I in my diatribe, my friends? And I thank you for being here. And I'm going to repeat what I talked about because I haven't gotten that far into the presentation. So I just want you to know you are in the right room right now. And I want to begin by reading you something, not from an ancient text, not from a history book, but from a signed document in this country in our lifetime with a pen and a seal. It is called, and I want you to hear this title because this title is the whole confession. It is Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, my friends. Sanity, they have decided that the honest memory of what was done to us, done to your ancestors, is a form of insanity. Okay? A sickness, something to be cured. And that word sanity in that title is not new to us. Hold on to it because before we get finished this live stream, I'm going to show you that they have called our memory a disease before. They were wrong then, and my friends, they are wrong now. So this is the second week, my friends, of the Ak Ascension journey. This is week 2 of the 10-week Ak Ascension journey. And this week, we descend into bloodline. And I'm going to put up one more time for those of you who may need access to this. The Ancestral Life Force Practice Guide. This is the QR code. You can access it. No subscription, no email required. It's on the community page on Power Profit, power-profit.com. This takes you directly to the community page. Scroll down till you see calendar, and you will see a link for the practice guide. And so my name is Minister Dr. Akila Ka Ma'at, and today we descend into the bloodline, okay? And today we name, I keep losing my screen, and today we name the oldest war this country has ever waged, the war on your memory. And then I'm going to show you why every single time it has failed. Okay, so let me just put up the map real quick of our journey here. Okay. Last week, we told the truth about the war on our body, which was the Khat, we're in the gates of Ka, right? Ka is the first temple. This week we go deeper into, I'm taking this down because my production folks have put up the wrong screen. Forgive me. So we go deeper. We descend into the bloodline, into what ancients have called the Ka. Ka. K-A. Okay? The ancestral life force. The signal your lineage is holding on the line and has been holding on the line for you across the centuries. And here's what is happening right now in real time as we sit here. Okay? They're trying to cut that line. They're trying to reach back through generations and erase the people you came from. Their names, their stories, their very existence in the record. So before I teach you what the Ka is, I must show you the war being waged on it, because you cannot understand how sacred your memory is until you see how hard they are working to erase it. So let me lay it out. And I'm going to be careful to tell you what is documented and by whom, because these are not my opinions. These are their own words. In March 2025, an executive order was signed, as I showed you, Executive Order 14253, restoring truth and sanity to American history. You can read it for yourself. It is on the White House webpage. It's also in the Federal Register. In it, the honest teaching of this country's history is called, and I am quoting, a corrosive ideology, a revisionist movement. It says that telling the truth about slavery and racism fosters a sense of national shame. And it signals out by name the National Museum of African American History and Culture. The order directs that monuments be removed, the order directs that monuments removed since 2020, many of them Confederate sites, Confederate monuments, be put back up. And it orders that federal sites remove any content that would, quote, disparage Americans past or living, including persons living in colonial times, end quote. I cannot make this stuff up, my friends. And I'm going to read that again slowly. They are ordering the government to protect the feelings of the enslavers, persons living in colonial times, while erasing, my friends, the story of the enslaved. And the president said the quiet part out loud. He complained that the Smithsonian Institute focuses too much. I'm just checking my volume here to make sure I'm working good. Focuses too much. Say it again. He complained that the Smithsonian focuses too much on his words. He says, quote, how bad slavery was, end quote. Too much on how bad slavery was, as if there were a correct, comfortable amount. And this is not a threat on paper. It is already happening. At the president's house in Philadelphia, my friends, the site where George Washington kept 9 enslaved human beings while he governed a nation that called itself free, the exhibit telling their story has been targeted for removal and replacement. As reported by PBS and NBC and others, it has been tied up in the courts, a city fighting to keep the memory of those 9 souls from being erased. And then this January 2026, according to Axios, in the words of Martin Luther King III, the son of the man himself, quote, "Since the start of Trump's second term, we have seen a coordinated effort to erase or rewrite parts of American history, especially Black history and the legacy of the civil rights movement," end quote. They removed the bust of Dr. King from the Oval Office. It stood there since 2009. Federal agencies paused their observations, my friend, of Martin Luther King Day and of Black History Month and of Juneteenth. And the national parks now offer free entry on the president's birthday, but no longer on Martin Luther King Day and no longer on Juneteenth. And in the parks themselves, a purge. The Interior Department flagged material for removal. And at the Selma to Montgomery Trail, the very ground where Dr. King marched for the right to vote, they flagged around 80 items. The National Parks Conservation Association looked at the whole picture plainly and said, African American history is being targeted more than anything else, end quote. They call it censorship. That, quote, should bother every American, end quote. And one detail I cannot get out of my spirit, my friends, among the things removed from the Smithsonian was the Bible. The Bible that Reverend Amos Brown carried when he marched and demonstrated alongside Dr. King. They reached in and took the very scripture a man carried in the struggle for freedom. Hold that image, please, because we have seen them do something to our Bibles before. Because none of this is new. Okay, not one piece of this. This is the oldest project in America. And I want to walk you back through it so you can feel how straight a line runs from that removed Bible all the way back to the slave ship. When they stole your ancestors and packed them into the holds of those ships, the very first thing they attacked was not the body, it was memory. They took the name your mother gave you in your mother tongue, the name that told you whose you were and where you came from, gone, and replaced it with the name of the man who bought you. This is where the erasure begins, my friends. It's not with a whip, with renaming. And if any of us remembers the movie Roots, the miniseries Roots, the depiction they gave of Kunta Kinte refusing to change his name to Toby, they whipped and brutalized that man into submission so that he could claim the name the slaveholder wanted to place on him. Resistance. And he was beat to a pulp. And I am sure that that movie in no way depicts the brutal reality that white slaveholders created for these Africans coming into America enslaved. Then came the language. It became a crime on plantation after plantation to speak the language of home. Because a people who can still speak to one another in a tongue you do not understand can still plot their way toward freedom. So they scattered those who shared the language, and they punished the mother tongue out of our people's mouths. And by mother tongue, I meant tongue from Africa, the languages that traveled across the sea with African peoples. Then they came for the drum. And I need you to understand why they feared the drum. In 1739 in South Carolina, there was an uprising, the Stono Rebellion, and the enslaved had used drums to call one another to it. So the very next year, they passed the law, the Negro Act, and they banned the drum. Banned it. Because the drum was not entertainment. The drum was and is language. The drum was memory. The drum was a way the ancestors still spoke. They outlawed the heartbeat of a people. Then they came for the gods, the indigenous spiritual practices that your ancestors carried across the water, the reverence for the ancestors, the knowing of the divine in the natural world, the whole way of seeing, all of it condemned as devilry. And in its place, they handed our people a very particular Christianity that is not spoken of enough. And here is where I need you to sit up. Because in 1807, they printed a Bible especially for the enslaved. It is real. You can go and see it. It was called Parts of the Holy Bible, selected for the use of the Negro slaves. And they edited it. They cut it. They removed almost the entire Old Testament and about half of the New, because they had to remove the story of Exodus. They could not allow an enslaved people to read, if indeed they even had the privilege to learn how to read, because so many were killed for attempting to learn, right? They could not allow enslaved people to hear or read about a God who set the captives free, who drowned Pharaoh's army, who despised bondage. So they cut Moses out of the Bible. And what did they leave in it? They left in servants, obey your masters. They did not merely indoctrinate our people. They took the word of their God and performed surgery on it to remove the freedom and keep the obedience. Do you see now? They removed the liberation from the Bible in 1807, and this January they removed the Bible of a freedom marcher from the Smithsonian. 200 years apart, the same hand doing the same thing. And then they went further into the mind itself. They made it illegal to teach an enslaved person to read, because literacy is memory, literacy is access, literacy is a door. And they built a theology to justify all of it, twisting the story of the curse of Ham to claim that Black people were divinely designed for slavery, and that the inferiority was not their cruelty, but God's plan. And then, this is the one you need never to forget. They reached for science. In 1851, a physician named Samuel Cartwright published a diagnosis, a medical condition. He gave it a name, drapetomania. And what was this disease? The disease was the desire of an enslaved person to run away to be free. He declared that a human being wanting their own freedom was a mental illness, a sickness of the mind, and he prescribed treatment as the whip. Now, sit with that for a minute. They invented a mental illness to explain why a person would want to be free. They pathologized the will to liberty itself, which is an innate will built into all peoples. So, when a document lands in front of me in 2025 titled Restoring Truth and Sanity to American History, Restoring Sanity, I know exactly what I am reading. It is Drapomania in a new suit. It is the same doctors telling us that our memory, our history, our reach for freedom is a form of insanity to be cured. From the stolen name, to the banned drum, to the edited Bible, to the invented disease, to the 80 flagged items at Selma, it is one unbroken project. And it has only ever had one goal: to erase the memory so that people forget who they are. That's just not Black people, that's white people too. Because the people who do not know who they were cannot know what they are owed and cannot imagine what they could become. I must set the history down for a moment, my friends, because there is a specific grief inside that I'm describing, and I do not want you to carry it without naming it. There is a particular loneliness that comes from being cut off from your own beginning. Most people can go back a few generations, a family name, a village, a country, a language, a recipe, passed down through hands. For so many of us, the line goes back and then it just stops. It hits a wall in 1850 in a ledger where a human being is listed as property with no last name, no homeland, no mother tongue recorded. That wall is not an accident. That wall was built. Every stolen name and banned language and burnt record was a brick in it, placed there on purpose so that you could arrive in this life not knowing who you came from. That is the wound of the Ka, K-A, to be a person of deep ancestral lineage and to have been engineered into insomnia. I'll say that again, the wound of the Ka, to be a person of deep ancient lineage and to have been engineered into amnesia. To feel in your very body that you belong to something vast and to have been robbed of the details. It is a grief with no grave to visit because they took the names off the graves. And I want to say this to you plainly, my friends, as care and not as a task. Okay? If you feel that ache when you reach back only to find fog, my friends, that is not you failing to be spiritual enough. That is a real loss, a real theft. It is allowed to hurt. Some things are supposed to weigh something. And I want you to feel something else inside this weight. I want you to feel the ones who kept the flame away because they tried to take everything. And our people hid what they could not carry in the open. They kept the rhythms in their feet when the drum was banned. They folded the old prayers inside a new religion. They whispered the names to their children in the dark, in the hush harbors, in the quarters out of earshot. And every act of remembering was a defiance that could cost a life. And they did it anyway, so that something would reach you. The fact that you are sitting here today feeling that ancient pull means they succeeded. The flame reached you. And that brings me to the truth this live stream has been building toward. They tried to erase your ancestors, and they failed. And I can say with total certainty, and so can you. And I can say that with total certainty, and so can you. And let me tell you why. Because you cannot erase what is not stored where they are looking. They have spent 400 years attacking the archive, the name of the ledger, the panel in the museum, the book in the school, the bust in the office, the exhibit at Selma. They believe that if they can record the record, they can control the memory. But the record was never where we kept the memory. This is the teaching at the very heart of the Ka. And it is the truth melanin or Kim metaphysics restores to you. Your ancestors are not stored in the archive. They are stored in you, my friend. The Ka, the ancestral life force, is carried in the blood. It is written in your Kim, the melanin, which is not just a color, but a keeper of memory and inheritance encoded in your very chemistry. You are the archive they could never reach because they cannot edit your blood. They cannot flag your DNA for removal. They cannot pass an executive order on the memory your blood carries in its cells. And look at where the memory hid, right out in the open, when they banned the drum and edited the Bible, right? The rhythm they outlawed did not die. It went into the hands, the feet, the shout, and it rose back up as the spiritual, as gospel, as jazz, as the blues, as every beat this whole world now moves to. The Exodus they cut out of the Bible, our people found it, and Go Down Moses became the anthem of a people who were never supposed to be told that Moses existed. Right? Let me say this. The names they took off the graves got whispered down the generations until they reached you as a feeling you cannot explain. A pull toward a continent you have never seen. You cannot kill a memory, my friends. You cannot kill a memory that has learned to live in a heartbeat, in a hum, in a hunger. And now come back with me to that word, sanity, draped to mania. They told us in 1851 that the desire to be free was a disease. Do you know what our ancestors did with that diagnosis? They ran away anyway. They proved with their feet that the doctors were liars and that the disease was a lie and the freedom was sacred. And here we are, generations later, being told again that our memory is an insanity to be cured. So let me tell you what we're going to do with this diagnosis. The same thing they did with theirs. We are going to remember anyway. But here is what they will never understand about what they are doing. The erasure is a confession. You do not spend 400 years and pass federal orders and remove busts, edit Bibles, and flag 80 items at Selma to erase something powerless, my friends. You only work that hard to bury something you are afraid of. Every law they ever wrote against your memory is them admitting, in the only language they have, that they know there is power in your lineage worth all of that effort to hide. So, they did not fail because they were weak. They failed because it cannot be done. You are standing here, Kim, melanated, ancestral, awake, as a living, breathing, unerasable proof that they lost. You are the evidence. Your very existence is the rebuttal. So let me name it plainly the way I promised at the start, okay? The wound is this. There has been a war on your memory since the first ship, a coordinated, centuries long, and now federally ordered effort to erase your ancestors and convince you that you came from nothing, so that you would believe that you are nothing. That is the wound. And we have named it today so it can no longer do its work in the dark. But we named something else today too. We named the victory. They failed. The Ka survived. The life force is in the blood, and the blood remembers. And my friends, you are proof. And that tells us exactly what our work is now. If their whole project is erasure, then our whole practice is remembrance. To remember is to resist. To know the names is to defeat the people who took them. And this is where this week is going. Tomorrow at 2:30, we teach the Ka, the ancestral life force in your bloodline, the full teaching of how the signal reaches you and how to receive it. And on Thursday, I will teach you the practice that is our direct answer to 400 years of erasure. It is called calling the names. It is how we take our dead out of the ledger and speak them back into the room. Come back for that. In a country trying to erase your ancestors, our ancestors, learning to call the names out loud is the most defiant thing, or one of the most defiant things you can do. So let me leave you the way the ancestors would leave you, by reminding you, my friends, whose you are. You come from a people who were renamed and remembered their names anyway, who were forbidden the drum and became the rhythm of the world, who had Moses cut out of their body and sang him back in, who were told that their longing for freedom was sickness and ran toward freedom anyway. You are not a person who came from nothing. You are the latest chapter of the most unerasable story on this earth. And every enemy of your memory, from the auction block to the executive order, is going to lose to you for the same reason they lost to them, because you cannot delete a people who carry their ancestors in their blood. So, my friends, here is how to keep walking with me. All right. What I would love for you to do is to subscribe, like, turn your notifications on, and comment. If you sat here or if you're here later, comment Ka in all caps, either in the chat or in the comment section. Okay? I want you to download, my friends, as I have shared with you, the free companion guide for this. It is called Ka, the Ancestral Life Force. This is the QR code to reach this resource guide and download it for yourself as a PDF on the power-profit.com website. Okay? And we will do the work of calling the names on Thursday. And the path, which is the Ak Ascension noted on power-profit.com, it gives you the 9 bodies of light. And if you are at all interested in a 9-body reading, what that is to know exactly where your own signal is strong on this path and where it is blocked across all 9 bodies of light. Book a 9-body point reading with me. This is the QR code. The founding rate for this reading now is $222 for the first 30 reads. Okay, and after that it goes up to 333. These numbers are not by accident. And if you want to do this in community, my friends, to gather in a space and have access to resources and to call names weekly, do the dark awake as a guided practice as a group. This is what the temple is for. The Ascension community, this is the QR code to join the temple. As I have mentioned before, everything is at power-profit.com. Okay? They tried to erase you. They tried to erase us, my friends. They failed. You are the proof. Come back tomorrow, 2:30, and let us meet them at the bloodline. Until then, my friends, go and remember, have a blessed and prosperous day. Thank you. Thank you. And if you have any questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me in my email, which is in the description for Power Profit TV. Email me if you have any questions whatsoever. Have a blessed day. Thank you.